Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the cultural foundations of Bronze Age Greece through the thrilling lens of Homer's epic masterpieces. We're talking about a story that has literally shaped literature and human understanding for nearly 3 millennia. It's a journey packed with heroic values, fierce honor, fate, and of course, absolute divine intervention. Because we're unpacking a sprawling 20-year journey, this agenda is going to serve as our roadmap. We'll cover the Homeric epic tradition, the Trojan War history, Odysseus and his sea adventures, and finally, the hero's homecoming. Let's start right off with Section 1, the Homeric epic tradition. You know, it's absolutely fascinating to anchor these Western classics by looking at them side by side with something like the beloved Tamil twin epics. It really demonstrates how vital shared stories are to a culture's identity. Just as Silapathikaram and Menamekalai form this deeply connected cultural narrative in Tamil literature, the Iliad and the Odyssey function as the ultimate twin epics of ancient Greece. These weren't just campfire stories. They were the absolute blueprint for how ancient Greeks understood war, love, bravery, and human emotion.
Now, looking at this historical timeline, the craziest part is that Homer wasn't just making this stuff up. He was singing about a real, devastating war that had fundamentally reshaped the Greek world 4 centuries earlier. Archaeological digs in modern-day Turkey have actually confirmed that the city of Troy existed. The blind poet Homer takes these historical events from the 12th century BC and 400 years later weaves them together with rich mythology, immortal gods, and mortal heroes to create 27,000 verses of pure oral tradition.
Moving on to Section 2, the Trojan War history.
Let's meet our central hero, Odysseus. While other Greek warriors relied heavily on brute physical strength, Odysseus, he used his mind. In Greek, his very name is practically synonymous with cunning skill and tactical intelligence. Picture this: the Greeks and the Trojans have been locked in this brutal, bloody war for a decade. The impenetrable walls of Troy simply were not going to fall to standard military force. Breaking that devastating 10-year stalemate required someone with his exact sharp intellect.
So, in the end, Troy wasn't defeated by raw military might at all. It fell to a brilliant 3-act deception. Odysseus devises the Trojan horse. They construct this massive wooden structure, claim it's a fake offering to the gods, and hide their most elite warriors right inside. By playing on the Trojans' own pride, the Greeks actually tricked them into dragging the horse directly inside their impenetrable city walls. That night, the hidden soldiers just slip out, open the gates for the returning Greek fleet, and Troy is completely obliterated.
Which brings us to Section 3, Odysseus and Sea Adventures.
With Troy in ashes, Odysseus set sail for what should have been a quick journey home, but divine retribution had other plans. He ends up having to navigate a terrifying gauntlet of monsters through sheer intellect and calculated deception. First, the Cyclops, a giant who is literally eating his men alive. Odysseus gets the giant drunk, blinds him, and cleverly escapes by hiding his men under the bellies of the giant's sheep. Next, the witch Circe turns his crew into pigs. Using an antidote from the god Hermes, Odysseus overpowers her magic. Then come the sirens, mythical creatures whose enchanting songs lure sailors to their deaths. His solution? He commands his men to stuff their ears with beeswax while he has himself tied tightly to the ship's mast so he can hear the song without steering them into the rocks.
The physical dangers were brutal, for sure, but the psychological toll of this journey was even heavier. Directed to the underworld, Odysseus is forced to confront the ghosts of his past. And I mean, it is pure heartbreak. He sees the spirit of his own mother, who tragically died of sheer grief just waiting for him to return. He meets his fellow commander Agamemnon, who is brutally betrayed at home, serving as a really dark warning. Finally, he meets the blind prophet Tiresias, who gives him one strict rule for the rest of his journey. Whatever you do, do not touch the sun god's cattle. Well, despite all his warnings, human weakness prevailed. The crew lands on the island of the sun god, Helios. They're starving, they're desperate, and while Odysseus sleeps, they ignore his strict orders and slaughter the sacred cattle. The divine retribution was absolute. The supreme god Zeus strikes their final ship with a massive lightning storm. Every single crew member perishes in the sea. Odysseus alone survives, washing up entirely by himself on a strange shore.
7. That is the number of years Odysseus was trapped on an island by the nymph Calypso. Now, Calypso offered him an eternity of youth and comfort, literal immortality.
Yet every single night for 7 years he sat on the beach, stared out at the ocean, and just wept for his home in Ithaca and his wife Penelope. This number perfectly encapsulates his fierce loyalty. He actually chose mortal suffering over divine paradise just for the chance to return to his humanity.
And that leads us to our final section, the hero's homecoming.
Thanks to the intervention of the goddess Athena, our hero finally secures passage back to his kingdom of Ithaca. But things are a mess. With Odysseus presumed dead, over 100 greedy kings and nobles have invaded his palace, eating his food and demanding Penelope choose one of them to marry. But Penelope proves she is exactly as cunning as her husband. She tells them she'll choose a suitor only after she finishes weaving a burial shroud for Odysseus's aging father. So all day she weaves, and all night she secretly unravels it. This brilliant tactical deception held those suitors at bay and protected her family's throne for years.
When Odysseus finally sneaks back into his kingdom, he's disguised as an old beggar, so nobody recognizes him. Nobody except his faithful dog, Argos. Listen to this. Argos was just a puppy when Odysseus left for Troy. Now, 20 agonizing years later, blind and neglected, he hears his master's voice. The dog musters the strength to wag his tail just once in recognition, and then, having finally seen his master return, he immediately passes away. It's profoundly moving, and it grounds this massive epic in simple, heartbreaking reality.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you pondering the profound human cost of this ancient hero's journey. Was a glorious 10-year victory in Troy truly worth 10 years of agonizing suffering at sea and a kingdom pushed to the brink of ruin? Yes, Odysseus used his brilliant intellect to conquer Troy, defeat monsters, and reclaim his throne, but the cost was unfathomable. He lost every single one of his men. His mother died of grief. His dog waited a lifetime just to say goodbye. The Iliad and the Odyssey are not just stories of monsters and battles. They are deep explorations of human endurance, consequences, and what it truly means to make it home. Think about that the next time you face a long journey of your own. Thanks for joining us, and keep exploring.